I will call to order the Tuesday, July 8th regular meeting of the Dayton City Council. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, need a motion and a second for the agenda.
Motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, and we have some changes, Amy?
Yeah, so we're going to add item J1, and that's that change order for the South Diamond Lake Road project. And then we're going to table item F. So that's the Dayton Creek Edition
that's
final
right.
plat.
Any other changes?
I found a typo, if you will, in the meeting minutes. One of the votes has the wrong names. So it's
Okay, we can.
Is it in the regular one or the work session?
the regular one.
Okay.
Do you want to know which one of them? I'm confused. It is on the personnel policy. It says Fisher, but it should say Henderson.
It must have been a good one because you want to take credit.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I want to take credit, but it was not correct and I thought I'd point
Sure.
it out.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Any other changes? All right, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Now we have consent. I need a motion and a second.
Oh, that got pulled.
Need a motion and a second for
Oh, that's right,
consent.
sorry. So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, now discussion, go ahead.
So I did have a thing about the Dayton Creek Edition, but that got pulled, or it is being tabled. But then the Sunstone donation, you asked about an appropriate gesture, and I like the suggestion, and I don't have anything better, but I wanted to explicitly tell you that I think your idea is good, and I don't have anything better than a placard of some sort to acknowledge it. Okay, that was it for me.
Anybody else?
That's it.
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
Let's see, I had a question around payment of claims, but maybe I'll just email Zach when he gets back on that one. Item D, there is on page 24, it's described as a $125,000 donation in the narrative toward a study or design or construction of road improvements on Fernbrook, but I don't see it in the resolution, or is it in the development agreement?
It's in the development agreement, but it's not listed as a donation. I think it's an escrow.
An escrow, okay. I just want to make sure that it's in there. Item H on page 150, this is around the parks irrigation stuff. I'm wondering where they're at. In the documents there, it talks about substantial completion around June 1st, and of course, we're well past that now.
So through no fault of their own, they are a little bit behind substantial completion. They've got the pipe work in the ground, but we're waiting for the electrical companies to set meters and run power to the wells for a couple of the projects. So they can't set the timers or test the system until the power's to those locations. So that's where we're at. I would say they're about 80% of what they should be at. So it's not totally substantial completion like I would expect, say 90% of it, but they're as far as they can get without the electrical components being there.
And was the electrical contractor under the sprinkler contractor?
It was a separate, he was part of the well drilling contract.
Of course. So do they have any kind of date? I guess what I would consider substantial completion is that we're watering the grass, and
No,
we're not there yet.
we're not there yet. Until we get the electrical service there, waiting on that. We can't go any further. I did talk to the electrical companies the last couple of days. Connexus will be setting meters in the next week or so at Hayden Hills and I've written it down here. There will be Connexus is going to do Hayden Hills and Iron Gardens in the next couple of weeks, and River Hills Excel are still working on the plans for theirs. They need to set a transformer at the entranceway to the park so we can run the electric to the well from there. So I don't have an exact time frame. I'm trying to expedite that as much as I can.
Okay. I guess we are where we are. Fortunately, we've had a lot of rain this summer, so
Sure.
it hasn't been as needed. All right, thank you. Yeah, that's all we had on consent.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Consent passes. Open forum. Limited to 3 minutes for non-agenda items. State your name and address. No council action will be taken, and items will be referred back to staff.
Keith Grover, 113th and Fernbrook. What I wanted to bring up tonight was the intersection at Rush Creek. The county's put the four-way stop in there, which is fine. Everybody that helped with that, thank you for getting the county to do that. The other thing about that intersection that's kind of always bothered me is we don't have a street light on that intersection. We have, the 4 roads that come through there. We know what the traffic looks like there. We also have the trail coming across from the new development, joining up with the park trail. The trail's not marked. There's no markings on the road for a crosswalk or anything like that. And there's no street light. I mean, the only street light we have is the one that's on the walkway that's on the west side. And that doesn't illuminate that intersection at all. So if we could, at some point in the near future, look at fixing that situation, I think it'd make that whole intersection a whole lot safer. And the other thing that I'm still patiently waiting for is the signage on the road, the painting on the road. I think Jason has got that in with what the
South Diamond Lake Road.
Yeah, the South Diamond Lake Road thing. Do they have the signs
No,
or just the painting?
we have not got authorization for the county for the signs.
Why would you need authorization from the county
It's a county road.
on their right of way? No, it's our road, Rush Creek Parkway. I'm talking about the signage on Rush Creek Parkway
Okay.
for right turn, left turn, and straight across, which is what hopefully the arrows on the road are also going to show.
Reflect.
But I think we have that on 117th, both. So I'm thinking that, why do we need to wait this long to put signage up? I realized the painting thing got cold last fall and everything, but we were talking about this for like a year. It just seems like it's moving way too slow. And that's the only thing that I wanted to bring up tonight. Thanks.
Can I just answer a couple of those points? We are working with Connexus and Excel for the street lights up there. The intersection is split between 2 power companies, so it complicates issues a little bit. And then the signage, we have got the signage at Public Works at the moment. As soon as the street's striped, we'll put the signage in.
Problem solved.
When they're up.
Jason, does the county recognize that as a crosswalk? Is that why there's no markings, or? I mean, they've done that to us.
It's not warranted as a crosswalk until it meets its demand.
Yeah,
So if there's enough pedestrians over a certain amount of time, then it'll be deemed a crosswalk.
so you don't know right now if they recognize it as,
They have not. They did do observations, I want to say it was maybe even 2 years ago now, and they said it was nowhere near meeting warrants at that time.
okay. Anybody else?
Hi there. Lee Hallquist, 11471 Fernbrook Lane. I know we're going to talk about DCM later, at least I hope, but drainage. I figured out I'm pumping 5 gallons at a time, 30 times an hour. I'm pumping over 3,000 gallons of water a day. That's a tanker load. And you haven't fixed the drainage problem, and I really believe you caused it when you approved the other project, but if it's perched water, something's refilling that perch, because Zach has said, well, it's perched water, we can't do anything. Something's refilling it, because I should have pumped out that much water by now. If it's a drainage issue and it's being recycled back to my house, which I've also heard suggested, why doesn't the city have a drain? Because I'm running that water line all the way over to Powers Ditch. 3,000 gallons of water a day is coming from someplace. And I know it's been heavy rain, I understand that, but this is just a buttload of water, and if my pump fails, I'm done. I mean, I'm going to have a lot of water in the basement in a big hurry, so. That's my only complaint tonight, guys, so you're kind of off the hook here.
Anybody else? Anybody online?
So if you wanted to speak in an open forum, if you can use the raise your hand function. Not seeing any hands.
Okay, we will close open forum. Staff consultant council updates, Amy?
I believe Zach was going to send this out in an email as well. I'm not sure if he did yet, but we're planning an all-employee event for September 12th. It's a Friday. We're wondering if we can close City Hall for that day. And you
Don't have
reply
an
and email.
You got an issue with that? You good with that? Closing it for September 12th?
Yes. It's a
To have the
Friday.
event?
So it's from 8 to noon.
Okay.
Sure.
So what, do you need a formal motion?
I don't.
Okay.
Looks like you had at least 3 or 4, so.
Okay. And that's all I have tonight.
Marty?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Only a couple of updates tonight. Wellhead Treatment Plant, the masons are back on site. They've got the scaffold up. They're going to start laying bricks tomorrow once their mortar has arrived on site. They're going to be working on the exterior brickwork for the next 2 weeks. There will be a little bit of interior pipe work starting up. But that's going to be the next 2 weeks is basically the masons' work. With the parks, I talked about the irrigation. Area 21, the grading and concrete work is progressing. They're just moving along with that. As far as the schedule is, they're on track. That's about all I have for tonight.
Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. We're continuing the hiring process for the fire department. We're in step 4, I guess, if you will, the health assessment. We've continued to move 4 firefighters on, which is good news.
Chief?
Evening, Mayor, members of council. Just a reminder, training, scenario-based training next Wednesday, July 16th from 1 to 3. I will send out an email with the address and time to be there.
John?
We have a vacancy on the EDA, and applications are due on Monday, July 14th. No updates here.
Amy?
Nothing from me tonight.
Scott?
Couple things. On the, I believe it was the 30th, we had a chat with a few residents on Stevens Park. Went very well. They had a lot of input. I think it went extremely well. One thing that I do see there, and there was general consensus on that side that they love the idea of a splash pad and a big playground. However, in thinking about that, I think you got to have running water bathrooms before you put all that kind of stuff in. So at some point, I think we need to talk about what's our thought, what's our vision for a building. Marty, kudos for calling Jeff Caldwell at Pro Playgrounds. You actually talked to somebody?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a revised quote from him and stuff, so.
Okay. I was just tickled that you actually returned the call. And then another one, I know this has not been brought up to staff, mainly for Paul. Riverfest will be held on August 6th or 8th along with the car show. So it's going to extend up until like 10:30. I don't know if we need to do anything else. It's kind of in conjunction with the car show, so it's just going to go a little longer than dark. That's about all I got.
Okay. I've got a couple of things. First one, it came up at our last meeting, and I know it came up a couple of times when I was on Planning Commission, that our ordinance regarding shrubs seems to be kind of ridiculous. And so I'd like to revisit that. I also recognize that unless someone has a background I'm unfamiliar with, none of us are landscape architects or landscapers. So obviously we want some input. So I don't know if we want to look at like League of Minnesota Cities and see if they have a template that other cities have used or what that is. But I definitely want us to look at that because thousands of shrubs at a single property is just ridiculous. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the A3 district. It was on the Planning Commission packet for this Thursday, but now I see that it's striked out. I don't know when that happened.
Sure.
But we need to deal with this. So like, when are we going to deal with this?
Sure. So first on the landscape ordinance, so we have about a list of a dozen or so ordinance amendments that we're working on kind
Okay.
of as time permits. So
Yeah.
landscaping is one of those.
Okay, excellent.
On the A3 district, the intention originally is to have a public hearing for Planning Commission. When we put out public hearing notices, that's due about 3 weeks prior to the meeting. So we did publish that for a public hearing notice, and then plans change. So once it's published by the paper, it needs to stay on the agenda, although staff is requesting that the Planning Commission, or will request that the Planning Commission table that. And so there's no date as far as when we would discuss it, but we'll be asking the commission to table it.
And what if they don't?
Then it's up to the commission on what they want to do.
Okay. Why is there not a date on that? Because I feel like this is something we need to deal with. Like,
Well,
as
it
soon as
really,
possible.
it would be up to the Planning Commission. There's no really report attached to the item for the Planning Commission meeting. There's an explanation, but it's not really a report.
And if I could chime in a little bit on that too, it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong on this, John, but the notice was published, but there was no notice mailed to
Correct.
all of the properties that would receive mailed notice. So there has been ineffective legal notice of that public hearing at this point. So I think that's another reason why it should be tabled.
Okay. But we need to have I guess my question is, why do we not say it will be at the next meeting? Why can we not commit to that?
It'd be up to the Planning Commission what they want to do.
Can it not be up to us?
No, because it's the commission's meeting. So the Planning Commission holds a public hearing and they need to act on their agenda. Like the council can't act in behalf of the Planning Commission during a Planning Commission meeting, if that makes sense.
It doesn't.
No,
Because they didn't, like, you put this on the agenda. They didn't put this on the agenda. I'm asking, why can't you put it on their agenda for next month and just know that it will be in
Sure,
September?
I can do that,
Okay,
yes.
so, thank you. And then, lastly, I'm excited that I don't have to work this Thursday, so I'm going to be at the Cribbage Cards and Coffee from 9 to 11. I know Scott offered to let people dunk him at the water tank at the open house, so I'm opening up to people who maybe want to come and try to beat me at cards. So that is my last one.
Beat you at cards?
Yeah, it's the cards,
Really?
cribbage, and coffee. Yeah, 9 to 11.
What kind of cards?
Well, cribbage
Texas
is the
Hold'em?
main thing.
Oh.
I don't know. But cribbage, King's Corners,
I love
euchre.
it. I'll always love it if I get a
She
chance to get a little blood.
So, well, on Thursday.
All right, I have nothing. Dave?
I just wanted to mention that I attended the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference last couple of days of June, and really good experience. I did attend a number of sessions that I think will be helpful for us as a city. One of the best ones was the number of representatives from Burnsville, the fire chief, police chief, mayor, the city administrator, city attorney, and marketing guy, I guess I'll call him. Although he was pretty key in that whole thing.
Communications.
So I decided that he messed up his title in there, but this was related to the incident they had a year ago with the two policemen and the firefighter that were killed. and how the city responded, how they organized their emergency operations center, and so kind of lessons learned from that event. So that was really a good one. I also got some information about what was in the bonding bill from the state that we know we didn't get any of our direct requests, but there was money put into drinking water grants, and I did mention that to Zach. Zach said that you were aware of that, Marty, and that we were applying for some of that money, so that would be a good thing. Also got some good information about, more information, or at least to help my understanding of how ambulance services work and how their boundaries are set and licensing and all of that. So I think that's kind of an ongoing topic for us, but I got some good information there. And also one about right-of-way. And, we've had this we've been kind of kicking around knocked over utility boxes and abandoned stuff. And I think there's some things we can do. Our ordinance looks long and touches on a lot of things, but I think there's more that could be done with that. And so that might be something I suggest we take a look at in the future, because we do have some rights with those utility companies in terms of their franchising and responsibilities for damaged and abandoned equipment. So more to come on that one. Anyway, it was a great seminar. I was glad to be able to go. That's all I got.
Stephanie?
Nothing for me.
Okay, let's move on to action items K.
So this is going to be super simple, hopefully. But we have 2 open positions on the Park Commission, and we have one who reapplied, and then we have an additional applicant for the seat who did not reapply. So I just need you guys to either appoint the 2 applicants or decide to open it back up if that was what your wish was.
And there are 2 positions?
There's 2 openings.
2 openings, 2 applicants, yeah.
And 2
Does
applicants.
anybody have a problem with 1 or 2 of the applicants?
Nope.
So
No,
are
they were
we
good to me.
okay?
Make a motion to accept both.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I would just like to make sure that, I believe it's John Knutson who is leaving the Parks Commission, that we
Correct.
do something to recognize his time on the committee.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. On to item L.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. Okay, so this is final plat and development agreement for DCM Farms. So as I'm sure the council is aware, the project is located off of Fernbrook and 113th Avenue. The preliminary plat was approved in this past April, including 253 single-family lots. The final plat tonight is for 106 lots. The whole project will be done in multiple phases, beginning west to east. So again, the phase 1 is on the west side of 106 lots. The project is within the R3 district as well as zone PUD. What else? Critical issues for this. The developer is contributing $125,000 towards a Fernbrook corridor. So the corridor is intended to study the intersections for Rush Creek Parkway, 114th and 117th. Second item is that the developer is paying for the 114th roundabout up to $2 million with credit for that $125,000 towards the corridor study. Item 3 is that the developer has agreed to extend sewer and water adjacent to the 6 homes off of Fernbrook. That extension would occur at a future phase, so not phase 1. Exactly where the water and sewer will be, if it's behind the houses or in front of the houses, still has to be worked out. Let's see. Item 4, the plans are still need to be finalized as far as installing 2 gazebos and landscaping. Those gazebos are going to be a part of a future phase and then the current phase. And then land, item 5 is the developers dedicating land towards the park for Area 21. And so this is kind of a short presentation, and I can try to answer any questions that the council may have.
I guess I have a couple. The 125,000, that's more of a loan than a
Look at
grant
it.
or a contribution, because we're giving it back when the roundabout gets built, essentially.
Yes, or providing credit towards it, yes.
Okay. It just seemed a little bit odd to me, but I don't have a problem with it. I just wanted to make sure I understood it all right. I lost my place. On page 175 of our packet, Jason, this is your letter, item number 16. I'm wondering why we're requiring the roads to be designed to a 40-mile-an-hour standard when it seems to me unlikely that these would ever be 40-mile-an-hour roads.
I'd have to look. We often do that for the 113th and some of the more neighborhood collector type roads. I'm not sure why it was imposed on this one, to be honest. I'll have to ask our team about it.
Okay. Yeah, it just stuck out to me that if these are residential roads, they're not going to be anything else. So, didn't
Make
seem
an
quite
assumption
right.
that'd be it for 114th, not the interior streets.
I would expect it was intended to be just for 113th and not all of them.
I don't think
but I
that's
would
how
have
it's
to
written.
clarify.
But,
It's not
No.
written that way, but I think that was probably the intention.
okay. And then lastly, we haven't had much discussion about the existing home that's on the north end of the property along 117th. And it looks like that stays.
That goes,
It goes.
Yeah.
That's being purchased as part of this project.
correct.
Okay. Then that's why we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so the house is being replaced by 3 of the smaller, I don't want to call them townhomes, but the smaller homes in the corner, and then I think that's behind, there's stormwater pond that would be in front of the existing house.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure what was happening with it. It's on, it's on the drawings, but then there's also an overlay that shows housing, so I wasn't sure where we were at with that. Okay, that's part of the project then. It goes away.
In the communicator, the 40-foot lots were extended to 45 feet. Is that actually so?
I'd have to look at the preliminary planning.
Tom
and
will.
Tom, I'm sure would be able to answer that.
Come up, or can I answer from here?
Yeah, come up.
Yeah, then we can get it on the microphone.
You might get more, so.
I'll put it on my notes, I'll make sure, but on that, I believe, I think there's a combination, stuff, homes that were 40, I think, went to 45s and 50s, but there were the alley load lots, and I believe those are all remain at 40, but they still have the 7.5 setbacks.
And do you know if, well, you'll know, I guess, have you acquired or have an agreement for the roundabout, for the additional property that you might need?
I haven't, we're waiting on design, right, in the study.
Okay. And what all of a sudden, what happens if that doesn't happen? Then you just move it south?
I think you move it west.
Okay.
I think we already said it was gonna get moved south, right? It's already?
The intent is
Desirable to move
to move
south.
it south to not impact, no permanent impacts on the residential properties on the west side.
Yeah.
I think what the hardest thing is, and Jason can probably speak to it, I look the discussion up at the Rush Creek intersection, and just as simple as crossings for the bikes, we asked for all that in the beginning. The reality, the county's gonna get a hold of this and we're gonna have no say anyhow. Or you guys may, I don't, I know.
Right. And another big stickler for me is this is a PUD. In my opinion, the roundabout at 114th is strictly for the benefit of that development. I don't think it does anything for anybody else other than that development. What you're willing to contribute for that roundabout is rock solid firm only on that roundabout?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I, you know, and I think there's, I already paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars up at Rush Creek once, you know, because the county didn't design it right. I don't think that is my error. Yet I've taken Rush Creek Parkway, I made it a parkway, I've curbed it all, it went further to the west, wasn't required to have that. But I curb both sides there, I'm curbing both sides of 113th. There's as many homes on 117th that they're only curbing one side. So I have been making a ton of road, you know, improvements for the city, all at my expense, you know. I'll take it back, I think on 117th, you know, one of the questions on the house going away, it was already gonna go away, but it sounds like ponding is we might lose a lot because ponding's gonna have to move westerly, because we are going to agree to dedicate land for a roundabout on 117th. So I would say, am I contributing some? Yes.
Okay. That's my main questions.
So at the last meeting, John, so at that time, there was some money proportional to the traffic for 117th, and there was no limit on the 114th. What happened there?
So part of it was in negotiation with Brayburn Trails, and so the agreement that we had with Brayburn was $125,000. And that's why we have $125,000 here. So the idea of, with 250, we have some money to start a corridor study. I don't know what the cost would be for a corridor study, but this gets us.
It's not the study I'm talking about. I'm talking about money towards the roundabout on 117th.
I can answer that if you want. So we're hearing cost at 1.2 to 1.5 million at the tops, right? That's what they're saying they're costing. And I know if you say you're gonna pay 1.5, you're gonna pay 2, you're gonna use it up, right? It's gonna go somewhere else. And so I'm already told that this is already well over, you know, the cost of what it should cost to do. And so that's where I just said, somewhere you gotta limit it, because now I see when the study happens, these costs are gonna get folded in, and I don't wanna get lumped into the other intersections that I don't think are my responsibility to pay.
My issue here is, I, along with Scott's comment, I want to see more public good with this PUD, and I'm not. And in fact, even last time I was leery, and now we've lost the 117th benefit. And I don't think 2 million, I'd be surprised if 2 million cuts it on the, but that aside, 114th is, it doesn't.
I would ask you, any other developer, any projects in the city that's asked to pay that much for one intersection. I'm also giving the park land up in the corner and still paying full park fees across, you know. I'm not asking for a credit there. I'm not asking for a credit on trails. You know, we're just putting the trails in, which some are gonna go to the city, which they could be credit. So there are a lot of other things that add up.
I guess I'd like to see what that looks like. So I'm not prepared to vote for this tonight. I don't know if is everybody okay if we vote to table it, or is there enough votes here to pass it?
Well, I'm not, I'd have had a hard call had the 2 million been the money that you were gonna put for the roundabout, been able to go anywhere. Because personal opinion, I see more need for a roundabout at Rush Creek than I do at 114th. That's my personal opinion. And if that money went to there, or wherever, we go to the park and say, hey, we can get this done, we want everybody to partner, because everybody benefits with a roundabout. And I know you tried to do that before, and the county just wasn't willing to go there. At some point, the county's gonna have to do something. And there is conversation. Now, it might take 3-4 years. The county moves slower than everybody else, so. I'd have had a hard call if that would be able to go anywhere, because I'm trying to figure out the best location for the roundabout, and in my opinion, it's Rush Creek. I do see a need, personally, I see a need more so at Rush Creek at 117th than I do at 114th. And as far as the shopping center thing, everything, the roundabout, that shopping center thing could get pushed if it happens, and I don't particularly care if it does or not. It can be homes for all I care. That could go down on 117th, because I agree that wherever the roundabout is where the retail outlet should be. So to me, that could be shifted down there. 113th or the so-called 14th doesn't even need to be there. You can funnel traffic south and you could funnel it north, so that they come out at Rush Creek and they come out at 117th.
Well, I would disagree with you, and I'd say I'm gonna do it because I own a business to the west of it, right? And I don't know how you're gonna funnel all the Sundance
That's true.
through a neighborhood. And I've been here in front of the other councils, you know, and I was the only developer that would come that would even keep the golf course, right? We're sitting here, they wanted to keep it a golf course, everybody else wanted to wipe it out, you know, so.
Anyway, at that, I'm not in favor of it. There's the other issue is the 40-foot lots, and I've been rock solid on the 7.5-foot setbacks, and I get why we're doing it all. It all brings in, it's for more houses. I mean, that's the bottom line. You need it to make the whole development work. I get it. I don't want to build Minneapolis or Brooklyn Park. That's me.
Well, and I think I'm already under what you're guided, you know, I'm 3.1 when you guys have a four units per acre in your ordinance, you know, so I think.
I don't know that we do
I just
at this
went to
stage.
the
I don't
PU.
think we do at this stage yet.
So with tonight's request is for the final plat of the west, you know, I'm gonna say phase 1, and what we're talking about is not part of this final plat.
Oh, well, that's
I
fine.
mean, I know it's the same project.
It's the same project.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm not there. Because I know where it'll go.
Well, I believe, right, if this project has to pay for a roundabout, right, and maybe you're wrong, so if there's a number, then why should I have to pay $125,000 study for 2 intersections that doesn't affect me, right? That I've been willing to up front.
Between you and me, I don't care about the study either.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think it's
but
useless.
the reality is, we can all up here and I can give you my opinion.
Right.
The county
Yeah.
might say there needs to be 1, might need to be 3, and they might go down to 125th and tell you need a 4th,
Yeah.
right? I don't know that, right?
That's why we're premature on the whole thing.
But I'm okay paying for it. But if you know, if I said it's 3 million, you guys are gonna burn 3 million, and if a thing costs $1.5 million, I just seen it on the other intersection. I got no control of any cost, and things get shuffled to different areas. Just how government works, and I mean, I feel it should be just paid on the benefits of that intersection, which is part of the development.
Well, if it wasn't a PUD, I would agree with you, but it is a PUD. So that argues that the public benefit is those other intersections, because that benefits the wider public and not just this development itself. And I get, if I were you and I had tried hard to make that Rush Creek Parkway intersection what it was supposed to be, and had them not willing to play ball, and then turn around a few years later and be like, haha, just kidding, we want your money now, I would be real angry and real salty about it too, like, very.
Yeah, I will, I'll be honest, it'll be, you know, I feel I've brought great projects to this city. I've required LP around all the sides. I know it doesn't matter. I guarantee you guys, you look at some of the projects that I have that are 15 years old. I take Nostalgia Woods here. I add hundreds of thousands extra, so when sewer came in, nobody had to pay. Nature's Crossing, I'll give you an example. I paid $500,000 for a road that never got even built for 10, 15 years, you know? So that's a little bit, Mayor, when I say I'm just gonna, you know, if I'm gonna pay for anything, they decide they pay it, they're gonna build it in 15 years, right? And that's why I just feel like, you know, I'm hearing, well, is it gonna get built? And then if I just say it's unlimited, and who knows where it's gonna get built is my issue, you know? So, I just, you know, to me, I don't care if it's a roundabout at 114th, you know, but there's some intersection, and to get that changed around, the county's gonna need approval, or they're gonna need to just put their stamp on it.
Right.
Just for clarification, so it's 2 million for the roundabout. If the roundabout comes in at 1.5 million, is the city allowed to use the other $500,000 for one of the other roundabouts, or does that have to get paid back?
The way it's written is that the developer is paying the cost of the roundabout, 114th roundabout,
Okay.
minus the 125,000.
And there's a.
So if it's
Up to 2
1.5 million, up to 2 million.
Up to, okay, so.
So if the roundabout comes in at
Minus, yeah.
Okay.
1.5, he pays 1.5,
Okay,
minus the 125.
got it.
In this section, this plat, what are the deltas from our normal R3?
This exceeds the R3. So the R3 average lot width is required to be 62 feet and 6,500 square foot lots. Lot sizes are larger.
The regular
So the
R3
PUD, the
requires
benefit,
62
the
feet.
developer's benefit of the PUD is really going to be on future phases, not the current phase. Where you get into
But this,
the
it seems like this
55.
kind of locks in those future phases to some extent.
That's what I'm struggling with, because I have no issue with this, right? But like, if we say yes to this, and then we get to those next phases, we can't, like,
Right.
Well, I think preliminarily, I think it's approved. If it's just talking about the intersection, right? And that's the holdup. I'm okay to say if it's 2 million and it's 1.3, 1 million, 1.5. You want to use the rest of the other intersections, you know? But I don't care about that. But I think just, that's why I gotta put some limit, because you can't, none of us can tell me a time, right?
Right.
And I've been here, you guys haven't, and I've experienced spending a lot of money and nothing happens to, you know, I don't know where that money went. That 500 grand I pay back then might have paid to help put gates up for the park district when they
Yeah.
closed the road down.
I guess I get back to the 117th is gone, and that's a concern I have. And I still don't know how, I just don't see this 114th as a public benefit. Obviously, if you put the development in, you're gonna generate the traffic, but
Well, I think it's the first one that's willing to go there and it's gonna slow traffic down. You know, that was a complaint that everyone had, and, you know, my dad lives on that road. I live there some with him, right? I see
I
that.
don't disagree.
So I think there is a benefit, slowing the traffic down. And that's a public benefit, not
But,
just,
but it's not, I don't even know that it's, I mean, you're gonna be limiting those last two houses also. I just don't see that as that big of a benefit. I get it, it may slow traffic down, but I think our issues are, like I said, at 117th and.
Yeah, and
Rush
I
Creek.
think that's a whole different road, right? That's gonna be a collector road, you're gonna have a parkway, I mean, that's a, you know, to expect a corner of lots that really don't even have access to 117th to pay for that intersection, I just feel is unreasonable.
I believe when I'm going off of memory, so might be incorrect. So with the preliminary plat, one of the requirements were that the developer pay a proportionate amount towards the 117th
Yep.
improvements based on the amount of traffic that you were contributing. And it was a small amount. I want to say it might have been like 5% or something.
And I mean, I don't know if you take
Right,
a
of the total
half acre or whatever of land you guys are wanting for it, you know? I mean, that just about takes your 5%.
Where are you getting 5%?
The total amount of traffic on Fernbrook. So how much of, I don't know.
It's not
if it was
Fernbrook, though, it's
7,000 or
417.
10,000 or
Okay.
whatever. How much traffic is going north past 117th? So that's based on the traffic study from the EAW.
But the traffic is going to be added to 117th to get onto Fernbrook. So,
Well, there's no direct, so all the traffic from DCM is going out on either 114th or north through Brayburn.
Which goes into 117th.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of traffic going through Brayburn.
Well, there may not be if with the 114th roundabout there. I mean, most people are gonna go south.
Yeah.
Well, that only makes sense.
If there's not a roundabout, then that might change traffic.
If there's not a roundabout, they have to go either there or Rush Creek.
I think I'd argue as much traffic is gonna go north, Brayburn traffic could go south. They don't have to contribute to 114th.
I guess for me, I agree with you. The project creates the need for some kind of traffic control at 114th. How much additional public benefit that gives is, I guess hard for me to measure in my head. There's something there because of the, reducing the speed in that area. We really need 3 roundabouts. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We need one at Rush Creek. We need one at 117th. We can't get all of that out of that project, I don't.
No.
I don't think that's.
No.
And I'm
That's a
also
reasonable
willing
ask.
to work, I mean, Lee and Kathy are here, right? We're gonna bring sewer, to their homes, water to their homes. Lee has a drainage problem, which we haven't just got to there yet, and I don't think he has any reason to believe me. I mean, we'll do whatever we can. We just don't have drainage back there yet, right? We're not to that phase. And I think we kind of talked about trying to leave those trees alone this year to after the season, but.
Well, and I also think there's, we're talking about traffic only, but as it relates to the park, you're giving the land and paying the park dedication fees, and so that's more than what is required,
Yeah.
and so that's a public benefit.
And I don't have the trails, figured in there, but I've just assumed, that would be part of the trail, and we're irrigating along some of it. Those are all other benefits for it.
Yeah, and I guess lastly for me, the lot sizes that, it depends on if you like those row style houses or not, and it's not Minneapolis or Brooklyn Center, it's Maple Grove that's also building those, so we're not way out of whack, I think, in that. We don't have them here is what's different, but at the end of the day, the project just meets the Met Council current minimum density that we're supposed to be achieving. And so however you mix it, it's really, do you want variety or do you want bigger lots? And for me, I'd like to see some variety in that area, so I'm okay with what's on the plan.
And I think I was here with a lot of concepts. I didn't come in fourth one. Part of it's talking about affordability. I think there's other parts of the city that I'd go, more to the center off of Fernbrook, which is your traveled road. Now you're probably back to 65-foot wide lots, or whatever the 75 foot wide, bigger.
Stephanie?
A lot of what David said is kind of what I was thinking. I think there are other benefits, setting the traffic piece aside, and I do agree that I do think it will eventually need to be 3 roundabouts. But to not be redundant, I agree with you, David, and I am okay with the way it is now. So, don't know where that leaves us, but.
Would you be okay saying $2 million for roundabouts if there, and 113, 114th is the roundabout, and then anything left over could go to one of the other ones?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Is that a sufficient for the two of you? Or one of you?
Still up to the
You-
2 million.
You already have
right?
3.
Yeah.
You already have 3 if that's where you're teetering.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well then we'll.
I'm not there.
Okay.
I just don't like the whole 7.5 foot lot thing. We went back and forth to get to 15, or get to 20, and now we're gonna go down.
But I think now I'm at the end, the ordinance is 7.5, right? On a PUD, I asked for less. We moved it up to what the current
Yeah.
ordinance is. And.
So really the only PUD is the smaller lot sizes for that one chunk that we're
Yes.
technically not voting
Yeah.
on. Okay.
But I think we might as well just have the discussion
Well,
about it
yes.
today, right?
Yeah. 'Cause
Going forward,
we can't do part and then
yeah,
knock the
yeah.
other one.
It's all staying there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, I just thought that was the agreement, the road, and I don't know, if the county comes in and says there's 1 or 2 roundabouts and that's a regular intersection, then, I guess that's what it is, I just see roundabouts everywhere. It's the only reason proposed it.
Can I ask, I have a question.
Have at it.
Some of it, you just sparked something for me. So let's just play the game and the county comes back and says that the 114th is just a regular intersection. What happens then, because this is written for that money going for a roundabout at 114th, so what happens if, I'm talking in circles, what happens
Yeah.
if that comes back and that's a regular intersection and it is 117th that needs to be the roundabout? Are we just like
So that's-
SOL? Are we, what happens then?
Well, that's why I'm asking, can we just get $2 million for intersections with paying for the 113, 114th first? Get whatever that one needs, that's where all that money comes from. And then any additional money would go to either 117th or Rush Creek,
So
depending on.
whatever the county says 114th needs to be,
Yes.
the money goes there to
yes.
improve that intersection
Whatever that
first.
is.
And I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's, again, up to the county to say, is that a roundabout, is that a regular intersection, what is that?
Yeah.
And then what else in that area needs to be improved, and if it is 117th, that needs the roundabout, whatever money's left over.
Goes there.
Would then go to that, and then, right? Are you?
Yeah.
Do you follow that?
I do.
Yep.
The one concern, so Jason, my understanding is the county is going to see none of the 3 intersections justify a roundabout today.
My guess, well, I think Rush Creek probably would.
Rush Creek should.
Yeah, that's already operating at an F on some of the movements. I expect the others will not meet warrant today. However, the county is more lenient on moving forward with projects for intersection control if they're roundabouts versus a signal.
Okay.
So similar to Pineview. Pineview did not meet warrants for it. That was allowed because it doesn't do harm, and there was also a safety concern there.
And we paid most of the bill.
We paid a lot of the money in.
Well, that's where, if we have this money, then that would maybe help this happen a little bit sooner, so you're not waiting 15 years to actually get something.
Yeah, we've reviewed the roundabout preliminary layouts with the county. They seem fully supportive of all 3 of them.
And is the purpose of the study to decide which one is the priority? What's the purpose of this study?
To get preliminary design with them, so to
Okay.
go get the field information and then the preliminary design to
Okay.
identify the land needs and acquisition
Okay.
requirements. We don't want to wait for 3 years when we want to build this thing and then do all our preliminary work. So that was part of the reason for accelerating the $125,000
Got it.
payment, is to get this started so we know exactly what it is. So it's really the preliminary design of the project.
So that if you need certain land,
Right.
you don't have a house built on it.
We
and
know
then-
how much to start
Okay,
the
okay.
possibly 1 to even 2 year
Okay.
process of acquiring that land.
Then I'm okay with that. I think that's enough public benefit for me. And I agree with you on the smaller lot sizes, but I feel like by keeping the setbacks a little bit larger, they are not going to be as on top of each other, and they'll still feel like there's a little bit more space, even though the lot size themselves are smaller. And it will encourage smaller homes, which are more affordable, and I do think affordability is a problem, so.
So John, how do we do this when we have a DA that basically needs to be
Rewritten.
rewritten?
Yeah. Well, if there's an agreement on kind of what the major points are, we can rework on the writing in the DA. So just so that I'm following correctly, is that, Tom, you're agreeable for $2 million towards roundabouts? And I think it's specific to 114th. If 114th is less than 2 million, the excess goes towards one of the other two
Take your pick.
improvements.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
I think you just
Is
call them
that-
intersections instead of roundabouts.
yeah,
Intersection improvements.
and then,
But the contribution is only if 114th happens. If the county comes back and says it's going to be at Rush Creek, your 2 million's off the table.
I think she's saying well, somewhere there has to be, it's
Something
off
has
the
to-
table if they're going to require, I know when we did Rush Creek, back then, they already said that 113th and 114th are going to be required to be connected, right?
Yeah, that's
So
an improvement.
I'm just not making this up.
Yeah.
It came way back.
So
So
that-
they're going to require some improvement down there.
Yes, no matter
But-
what.
And that improvement will be done first
Yes.
before any of the other money would go to any of
Yeah.
the other intersections. So, right, is that, I'm
That's-
trying to make
that's
sure
what
I'm
I'm thinking.
following what
Yes.
we're saying here, making sure it all gets out there.
Yeah.
It's whatever improvements need to happen to 114th, and then if there's something left over, it can be
Yes. Used to one of the.
allotted to either one of those others. Okay. Again, sorry, I have to perfect
No, I
process.
think that's perfect. It's good to clarify it.
are you, Amy, are you clear? So you will be reviewing this DA a little more intently, just to make sure that we don't get stuck on something? Cool.
Correct. I've been taking copious notes.
Much appreciated.
Okay, so again, I'm making notes as well. On the resolution, so I'm looking at item number 5. So just how it reads right now is the applicant shall fully fund the Fernbrook Lane and 114th Avenue improvements up to $2 million minus $125,000 credit. We're going to change that so that reads similar to the applicant shall fully fund the Fernbrook Lane and 114th Avenue improvements up to $2 million. Any excess funds shall be applied to either Rush Creek Parkway or 117th improvements.
Yes.
So it'd be at the council's discretion. Tom, you're okay with that? And then we'll wordsmith it more in the development agreement.
With the legalese.
Legalese, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you guys, well, it'll be the county decide, right, probably where more important.
Yeah.
And then there is no money towards applied to the study or the corridor study.
What is this a check mark? What is this corridor study? I'm just wondering what the intent is.
Again, to get a preliminary design, so to collect the field information and the soil information, and then get, I'll just say solid layouts, so we know the footprints, so we can go after land acquisitions, both for the roadway and for the supporting stormwater.
And is this just for the 117th, or is this Fernbrook?
It'd be.
All three?
It'd be the corridor, so 125,000 will be allotted from the Brayburn Trails development, 125 from DCM Farms, and then that would be used amongst the three of them.
But which corridor?
On
Maybe
Fernbrook.
that's,
Fernbrook
oh, it is
corridor.
Fernbrook.
Yeah, all three corridors on Fernbrook. Yeah.
Basically, those three
Or,
intersections.
Intersections, sorry, on different brick corridor.
Go ahead.
Should that still be included? I mean, I don't know that it really matters to Tom where that money's spent. He's gonna pay it no matter what, but then at least for us, that money's then been allotted to do just that.
If
So-
it's helpful, we have more information on Rush Creek than either of the other two. So
believe
most
that.
of the money will be spent on those two, so I don't know if that makes a
I think
difference or
it's
not. but-
6 1, half dozen the other, but sure.
Doesn't really, I'm just asking if it's easier, more efficient to just make sure that money is allotted. Or again, I don't think Tom really cares where, not that he doesn't care where his money is spent, but if it's gonna be
Yep.
spent, it's gonna be spent. And whether it's for that or it's for.
It's
the-
today, and
ultimately-
today you move it on and get answers, right? That's the
Yes.
hardest thing, is we don't know the answer, so I
Yes.
think that would help
I think so,
clarify
too.
those, so I'm in
I think it
agreement.
moves it along,
I
if
think
you
so,
will,
yeah, I would agree.
instead of.
We'll work on that. But
Yeah.
again, for clarity, is Tom is capped at $2 million.
Yes. Yes, and he-
Yes.
It'll be minus that
Minus,
125
yeah.
and whatever after that.
Well, really, yeah, okay.
So if we approve final plat today, does the development agreement come back to us then once it's finalized?
If you would like. I mean, the intention generally is the development agreement is what it is today. We can make minor amendments to it for clarity. To me, this is kind of a minor amendment if we agree that it's going to be capped at $2 million and that it's going to go for 114th, and any excess funds would go to either of those two intersections as you see fit. And you're not going to have an answer for that for probably 3 to 5 years.
Hopefully the 3-year. And if we do the corridor study, it might help that.
Sure.
piece, yeah.
Help them.
Okay, given that, I'll entertain a motion.
There's a hand in the audience.
I would like to speak.
Sure.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
Marcia Grover, 11320 Fernbrook Lane. First of all, I would like to, oh, sorry, I'm kind of hoarse. I'd like to talk about the perched water situation. I think it's not only Mr. Hallquist's house, but I think the situation is the same in the whole neighborhood. If you drive down there, you'll notice that a lot of the houses are of the style where the basement is only about half underground. And then they have the big picture window in the basement and that sort of stuff. And I think that's because the water table there, the perched water, is so high. Last week, we had to replace a fence post on our fence. And Keith dug a hole to put a new post in. And he dug down about 2 feet and boom, struck water. So, he just dumped the concrete in there and mixed it up with the water and put the post in. But we have water there too. Luckily for us, we have a lot that slopes towards the back and we have a walkout basement. So we are not completely underground. Otherwise, if our basement was down another 2 feet, we'd be having the same situation too. So I think that's really a big problem that needs to be alleviated is the perched water. Also, I'm wondering when the alignment for 113th might happen. The traffic at 113th and Fernbrook is getting crazier and crazier all the time. And I'm thinking, why can't he build the new 114th and shuttle all his construction stuff down that road? I think that he can make the intersection wider, and I think that that would be a good plan. And I'm also wondering exactly how long is this pause on the commercial part of this development? Is it going to be a couple months? Is it going to be a couple years, 5 years? How long? He never gives you a definite answer on that. And you need to get some numbers and some guarantees. Also, speaking about parks and trails, I think that pretty much every developer puts in parks and trails in their development now. It seems like it anyways. And so I think that that is not a burden, but I think it's a selling point for his housing development, is putting in the parks and the trails. In fact, I would like to see the trail run along the west side of Fernbrook Lane, from all the way from 117th up to Rush Creek. We're seeing more and more pedestrians on Fernbrook Lane all the time. The other day, Keith and I, we were out running errands, and we had to come home via Dayton Parkway because of the situation with Fernbrook. And we came down 117th and then came down Fernbrook Lane, and there's a lady walking down the road, and she's got her nose buried in her telephone, and she didn't even see us. So, I think the pedestrian situation there and the bike riders is getting more and more common. And when you add 250 houses more to that mix, there's going to be a lot of people going to be walking or biking on that road. And it only makes sense to me to have a path all the way up to Rush Creek where there is a pedestrian crosswalk there, and the people can safely get to the park that way. So with the lady walking, that's an accident waiting to happen, and it's going to happen more and more. We've all seen videos of people walking with their noses buried in their cell phones, and they fall into a pool or water, or, this is going to be the worst of the worst, though, if somebody gets hit. And what exactly is the plan for the roads? We don't have a plan in place yet. Once you okay this plan, there's not going to be going back to change anything. It'll be done. Fernbrook will not be able to be rerouted, and you have to get this right the first time. There's no second chance, and you need to pin them down and get the facts and the numbers. I don't want the city's money going to change or repair things that you let slip by. Remember, you represent us, the taxpayers, not the developers, and put the taxpayers first. But I think the perched water situation is going to only get worse with the construction. Thanks.
Thank you. Come on up, Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
I just want to address the trail. So along Glacier, we, on the east side of Glacier, we have a wider trail. We went back at first at Sundance Greens, and then there was an update here to make it wider, just to keep that traffic off of Fernbrook, because it's a busy road. It's just, Glacier is the first street east or westerly of Fernbrook. And that's supposed to be the traffic to move the neighborhood, trails, everything, from north to south, and keep it off the trail. So, but anyhow, that's all I had. I think, we've had all kinds of soil borings, everything on the perched soil. I mean, we're not building houses in wet basements. And like I said, I'm still no different from the beginning. Well, once we get over their storm, do whatever we can to help alleviate those 6 homes. But I just may want to talk about the trail.
Thank you.
How many phases is this thing?
3,
3?
excluding the commercial outlet.
Right, but the homes on the east side then, are they, is that, so that'll be separated, and is the third phase, is that all the 40-foot?
There's a small section actually in the center. The second phase will have pretty much that whole easterly side, so then we'll work along all the existing homes.
Okay.
And then at that point is when the house on 117th will have to come down.
Good.
So that's phase 2 or phase?
Phase 2.
Phase 2.
There you go.
Sure.
Yep, pretty sure.
Keith Grover, 113 in Fernbrook. I understand what Tom is saying with the, building from the west to the east. The problem is, he's talking about 200 plus more homes going in there in addition to the hundreds of homes that are already built back by Sundance, and a lot of that traffic currently is using 113th to get out to Fernbrook Lane. If you switch the traffic over to 114th, obviously that traffic that's on 113th now is just going to move over to 114th. Whatever uncontrolled intersection you have there, whether it's a stop sign or a roundabout or whatever it may be, my whole problem is that all these hundreds of homes are going to get built out there, and we will have done nothing, absolutely nothing, to alleviate the traffic coming from those homes. In the plans that we're talking about, I mean, it'd be nice to have a roundabout on both ends of it and funnel all the traffic into that, because 117th is going to do nothing except get busier and busier and busier. That's never going to get lighter. 114th or 113th, whichever you want to look at, is probably going to have a finite amount of traffic. It's going to increase, but at some point, it's not going to get any more because you can't cram any more homes in than what's going to get crammed in there. I guess unless you build on the front nine, which I haven't heard is not going to happen, but so at least you have a finite amount of traffic coming from that. I don't see us, I mean, is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? How long do we put up with or work around or have this catastrophe sitting waiting to happen in front of us before we do something with the roads? I honestly fully expected 113th in the realignment to be one of the first things that we did before we approved this development. Because that would at least alleviate some of that traffic and get it over to an intersection where you have sight lines in both directions, where you're not looking down a hill into a hole south of 113th. You can see for a quarter of a mile both directions from up at 114th. You don't have that down on 113th. At 114th, the realignment, you could have more lanes with left turn to go north, right turn, similar to what we've done at 117th. Or maybe not quite so extreme, what we did at Rush Creek Parkway. But I see all of these things just like a snowball to me rolling downhill all towards Fernbrook Lane, and we're doing absolutely nothing ahead of time to alleviate that. All we're doing is making the snowball bigger and bigger and bigger on the west side of this property, and we're doing absolutely nothing to stop that snowball when it gets down to Fernbrook Lane. That's my fear. I don't see any discussion from the council, and I don't see any discussion from Tom. I understand what he wants to do, and I get it. I get what he wants to do. Every time he builds a house, he makes money. So if he builds houses there, he's got more money to put towards, whatever improvements that you guys might request of him to get onto Fernbrook Lane. I get that. But we're the ones downhill from, running. And we're looking at that, the way I see it, for years, to come. I just don't see that as a feasible thing for us to do with a development, is build the whole back part of it, and then someday in the future, we'll build the road in the front for all the traffic to get in and out. It just seems like a backwards way of doing things to me. The other thing, I think it's great that Tom is willing to put forth money, towards fixing that intersection. But the language, he was coming from a contract guy here, the language that you guys were batting around, up to $2 million. I know what that means to me, sitting at a contract table. Up to means $750,000 up to $2 million. 1.2 million is up to $2 million. Up to $2 million means anything under that is up to that amount. If you're going to ask somebody to put forth money towards a project, give them a dollar amount and make them give you that much money, not up to.
Well, that's what we said, 2 million.
It's 2 million.
But everybody kept saying up to, though. See, this is an old contract guy listening to what you guys are saying, obviously not seeing what gets the final document. But up to doesn't mean somebody's giving you $2 million. It means if it costs 1.3, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, I think the intent of the agreement is 2 million.
2 million, period, hard stop.
That was pretty clear.
Yeah.
I'm the one paying. That's what I feel is pretty clear.
You're right. That's not what I was hearing, and I kept hearing everybody say up to.
If
you get that language out of there, it makes
it's out of there.
it
That was
changes
the
it.
correction.
The correction was to get rid of it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The up to part is out.
Yep. And the other thing about the trail that Marcia was talking about, that there's a trail going behind the 4 homes that are there now, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And she was talking about possibly bringing that trail somehow and connecting it up along 121. So if all those 200-plus homes built back there decide they want to walk up there, that there's actually a trail to walk off from that busy highway, which is just insane.
Well, that trail is going to be right behind the houses.
Project is the challenge with that.
Right, but again, you're putting the cart before the horse. We'll do this in the anticipation that this will happen. That's just backwards to me for doing things. That's all I want to say about that. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith.
Any more discussion? I do have to, I am concerned about, we already have an intersection that's a mess, and we're just adding roads to it, or houses to it, but, go ahead.
Hi, Lee Holquist, same address as last time. And we already talked about the drainage, you know how I feel about that. But John, according to John's numbers, you're going to triple the traffic on that road. And it's still going to be a 2-lane, 55-mile-an-hour road. I think something has to be done. And I don't want to do anything that's going to slow Tom down. He's got a lot of money in this project and stuff. But I look back 2 years ago, you had 6 meetings about 121, including one meeting that was closed to the public and only open to the developers. And at the end of the meetings, you just decided, we're not going to do anything because it's a county road. But I think whatever's going to happen on that road needs to be solidified before we get too close to that road, we get too much traffic. And like I say, 3 times the traffic I got right now is going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get out of my driveway or into my driveway safely. Most of my neighbors have turnarounds in their yard now because you can't get out on that road. You can't back out on it. It's just getting to be dangerous. So like I say, I think Tom's doing a great job. I think he's got some serious planning, but I think you guys are kind of holding up the process here with 121. You should at least slow the traffic down, and you can't because it's a county road. Get the county out here and have them do something, but, this is going to get serious before it gets built, and it needs to be addressed ahead of time, so.
What
Okay.
intersections are the stop signs going in on?
There's one, it just went in at Rush Creek today.
Okay.
And I appreciate that, but it's still going to come up to it at 55 miles an hour. So, anyway, that's all I got for now.
Right. So did we already have a motion and a second?
No.
I have no writing.
No, we don't.
Okay, well, we're waiting for, I'll wait for a motion and a second.
I guess I'll make the motion to approve the final plat and the development agreement as amended by our discussion tonight.
And just for my clarity, it's $2 million for 114th. If the cost is less than that, any excess gets applied to either Rush Creek or 117th at the council's discretion.
We just have to be careful, though, if the county comes back and said no roundabout, or,
Then it goes to
we have to be careful.
Rush Creek
Yep,
or
but make sure the
117th.
DA is very, cool.
Are we removing the study, the 125 designated?
I thought we were keeping the study.
Well, the 125 is in there, but it's part of the 2 million ultimately.
Right, but specifically for the study.
So what this discussion has added is flexibility about how any
Excess.
Does the
excess
council
gets
want-
used.
Sorry. Does the council want to see the development agreement, or is this, you verbally, are you okay with what we've talked about?
I don't know that I need to see it again to approve it again, but I would like to see it because it gets hard to track some of these things that are all redlined and.
Could it come back on consent, the consent
Yes.
agenda?
Yeah, if you'd like.
Go ahead, Amy, you were going to say.
I just wanted to clarify one more point, and with the $125,000 credit for the corridor study money.
Keep that, yeah.
Yes.
Keep that in.
Or is that part of your motion? Sorry.
I just want to clarify your motion.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's in the 2 million cap, if you will. I have no doubt that we'll spend every nickel of it and then some, but it's in that $2 2 million. The 125 is really, as I read it, is in advance out of that 2 million anyway. And what this discussion has done is add more flexibility to how the 2 million gets used ultimately, that it can carry over to another intersection if there is a balance.
Got it. I just want to make sure that we get the right revisions to the development agreement, so thank you.
Now second his motion.
Now you have to say all that again.
Well, I'm understanding.
Word for word.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No?
I think I'll be a no. So that's 3-2 that it passes. All right, on to item M.
Thank you. So item M is the final plat for Legacy Woods. So Legacy Woods is located on 107 acres on North Diamond Lake Road near Laura Lake. The project is 10 single-family lots. The preliminary plat approval was, going off of memory, I believe it was in March. The staff is recommending that it be this item be tabled. And earlier in June, we did receive a letter from the Met Council with concerns about the A3 district, so this project would be rezoned A3. The Met Council's claim is that the A3 district is inconsistent with the city's comprehensive plan. So again, the staff is asking that this be tabled so that we can resolve the issues with the Met Council.
Which, provided it will be on the planning commission
In August.
in August. No, you took it off August, the A3 district. Oh, no, you took it off next week. It will be on August.
Yes,
And all the appropriate notifications are going to go out.
we can do that.
Can I ask why it wasn't done right this time?
So a lot of decisions have to be made ahead of, 3 weeks ahead of the meeting. So the intention was to have this discussion with the Planning Commission in July. That changed, and then we thought we want to bring this to the council before the Planning Commission. But after clarity, it does need to go to the Planning Commission,
Okay. And it will be in August.
August.
My
So-
question on this whole thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure why Met Council has too much to say about this, because I believe this developer has ghost plotted this entire development for sewer and water.
Yes.
And why can't that happen?
In the Met Council's letter, what they're claiming is that the A3 district requires a comprehensive plan amendment, and we did not apply for one.
Well, then can we not do it on a different zoning district?
No, because this is not allowed in so currently it's Zone A1 agricultural, which is
Yep.
1 home per 40 acres. And this is 1 home per 10 acres, so it would not be compliant with the A1 district.
But I thought we can build on, well,
But are you getting to the fact that it's called A3 instead of A1? That we didn't modify the A1? Because their issue is the modification, not what we called it.
well,
And
we've been fiddling with this thing for about a year and a half now, and we're still not there, and it just, we move 2 steps forward
I
and
think
10 backwards.
we were almost there, but that council,
It's mind-boggling how this can be stumbled around on for so long.
Can we pull this particular PID from the MUSA? Because it really isn't a very buildable spot, even if we didn't have an A3, even if none of this happened, the reality is this is not a good spot for sewer and water.
The Met Council would say no.
they have said no.
To pulling this specific one, have we asked?
We asked about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Remember?
We asked last year, so I mean, all of
Well-
Dayton is within the MUSA. The MUSA extends into Rogers.
And that's a new rule over the last, what, year or so, 2
10.
years?
The MUSA? No, that's been in effect since, I'm gonna say, the current MUSA probably with it by 2015, 2014, 2015.
What was the question?
How long? the
Well, this
MUSA's been
happened in
effect?
Ramsey, where they pulled some land out at one point.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, they had to put it back in to get the development done.
That's because the development was being done using the sewer, and it wasn't in. So they had to push to get it back in.
Okay.
But, so the question here is, can we pull it out? And we have talked to the Met Council, we talked to them when we buttoned up the, what were those districts called? The permanently unsewered, or,
That's conservation easement,
Something like that.
something like that.
Urban reserve at one point.
Urban reserve.
there was,
Yeah, that's what it was.
yeah, there was some other zoning that we created that would be permanently unsewered. At that time, the Met Council's.
Rural estate.
Rural estate,
Yeah.
RE,
Which we do have a few.
which we do. And at that time, we did ask the Met Council if we could add some areas, because there are other areas, not just this one, there are
Right.
other areas that we
Just
will
never
have a
had
hard
been.
time, yeah. And they said absolutely not. But, so staff is gonna be talking to Met Council some more. I mean, that could also be brought up, but, I think we still need to get there, and that means we're gonna have to negotiate with them somehow. So I personally, I think we should table this.
And I'm okay tabling it, I just want to have I don't want
A direction,
A path.
instead of a constant roadblock.
Well, and a timeline. I don't want this endless eventually. I want to know that this is going to go to Planning Commission in August, and it's going to come back to us at the next possible meeting after that, and that we will get a decision. We need to have a time frame on this.
That's what I want too, except that we don't have any say about what the Met Council does with this. I mean, I think the intent is I mean, our position when we created the A3 was that we don't need a comp plan amendment.
Yeah.
And we have heard clearly from Met Council now that they disagree.
Which is,
You know,
and I.
so
yeah.
it seems that we have to negotiate with them to
get somewhere.
preserve our A3 district to
Yes.
every extent that we can, but we have to have somehow their buy-in on this. And we don't have all the cards in our hand with this because they're not at the table and they won't. I mean, we can pick any date we want, but what does that mean to them really?
Which
However,
Go ahead.
I get that, but I'm saying on our end, the things that we have to do, we can put some hard times on. You know what I mean? It has to go through our planning commission, right? We know that. Well, then let's put a date on it, and then it has to come to us. Well, let's put a date on that. Those are within our control, and that's where I want to have. I understand that we can't make Met Council approve it, we can't control their time frame. But the things that are under our control, I want to have hard dates on.
I think that makes sense.
What was
Come in
the,
And we shoot for that. and
Yeah.
Adjust if we have to.
what was the planning commission meeting for, since this had already been approved, but what was that for?
I'm sorry, for currently or back, you're talking about?
The one that sounds like it was on this agenda,
Oh.
and got, on the planning commission, and it got,
For a comprehensive plan amendment, which hasn't been written yet.
and we haven't, yeah,
We gotta work that out.
we haven't agreed to that yet, okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead.
Just for clarification, the staff and I are in the process of crafting a letter to the Met Council staff with the understanding that we would like to meet with them again, this time include legal counsel so that we can maybe move it along with a little bit more clarity. Not that legal counsel is has any magic tools, but it's just, so at the very least, I might be able to try to help you better than I've been able to so far. But part of that process, or part of that draft letter that we are going to be sending is that time is of the essence. for the city. I mean, we have a pending application that the council needs to take action on, the 1599, 60-day clock is ticking, 60-day, 120 days under that statute, and so we are going to ask Met Council staff, please respond to us within X number of days so we can schedule a meeting. And so we are pushing to get something done. And I want to also clarify one other thing. When you say there are things that are within the city's control that you have to do, go to Planning Commission, come back before this body. If the Met Council is taking the position that a comp plan amendment is required, from a legal perspective, there's a possibility that I fully expect that they would say that the A3 zoning is itself invalid, and any action you would take to approve or to approve a final plat under that zoning would also be invalid. So while there are things that this council and the Planning Commission need to do, the Met Council issues do need to be resolved first.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand, I share your desire for keeping this moving, and so staff, we're working to do that.
And does Met Council, my question I would have, do they have this so-called that we have to make this plan amendment in writing has anybody shown anybody that sentence, that it's actually on some sort of a document? Or do they just pick it off the wall?
What's on the document?
That we have to make the amendment?
It's within their authority to say that, yes.
To say it, but is it actually on a document?
What document?
Whatever document we're going by. I mean, they're going by...
They have communicated from staff at this point, just from Met Council staff to the city in a letter. And so they have stated their position, whether the Met Council as the decision-making body, it hasn't reached them yet. I think it would eventually get there if there were no resolution to the issue. So, I mean, it is within the Met Council's authority, as represented by staff at this point, to say, this is how we interpret our authority as the Met Council, this is how we interpret what the city needs to do in this situation, let's try to figure out how to make that work. I mean, although I haven't been part of the conversations with them to date, the correspondence seems to me that they are willing to work with the city to try to reach some, reasonable way to resolve it so that everybody can kind of get a little bit out of it.
The reason for my question is that at the last car show, I was talking to one of the legislators, and he's telling me they don't have any authority over this. I don't know who's right, but somewhere it must be in writing. Same thing with the former 3 units per acre. Now all of a sudden we got to go to 4.
No, we don't.
It's going to be 3.
They just pulled that out of the air.
So the next comp plan has to be 3.5.
Yeah.
But we don't have to meet that until we submit and they accept our comp plan.
For the 2050
The 2050.
vision. Okay. So,
which also maybe why we don't want to push that. We may want to put that at the last minute, because once they accept it, you're done. You're on that.
And there's no one single sentence in a statute or a contract or a document that says, the Met Council says Dayton has to do X. It's, the memo that I gave to the council, it's sort of a connecting of the dots. The legislature says that these are all the things that the Met Council has authority over, and so, they, under the authority that the legislature gives them, they develop their plans and their system statements and all that, and right now the Thrive 2040 plan is what everybody had to base their 2040 comp plans on, and so when it comes to, they have the authority to approve or require amendments to your 10-year plan, but if there are anything that happens in between the 10-year plans that require an amendment in their opinion, then their authority is the same as it would be over your 10-year plan. Does that make sense?
No, but kind of.
I mean, am I explaining it in a way that makes sense? Not does it make sense?
To me, it sounds like that they just kind of make up a rule as they want to go, and they have the ability to do that.
They develop their plans and their guidelines,
And
and
that makes sense because government can do whatever it wants.
It's kind of it's comparable to the authority that this body has when it comes to zoning, to say you have to have, setbacks of however many feet. You have to have a minimum lot size of however many feet. When you adopt your zoning code or your licensing regulations or any other things that this body has power over, it comes to you just the same way that the Met Council gets its power from the legislature.
That's in writing. My deal is their
It is.
opinion in writing.
It is. Their authority is set forth is in statutes in Chapter 473 and 473H and other parts of the state statutes.
They have asserted we're out of compliance. We could make them prove that. We could say no, and eventually it would end up in court. And generally, or at least in front of an administrative law judge.
All right, and what we're going to try to do, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead. I know what you were going to say. Go ahead.
You were about to talk. I'm sorry to cut you off. But what we're going to do in the meeting that we're going to ask the Met Council for is to get greater clarity on exactly what parts of the city's comp plan and the Met Council's flexible guidelines that they say the city is out of compliance with this A3 amendment, or with its A3 zoning district. We're going to really try to pin them down to find out exactly, kind of chapter and verse, what they say is really wrong. Kind of explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader, kind of a thing. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm even as smart as a fifth grader, so I'm going to ask them to do that, and so that way we can know whether to say the city continues to disagree with you, or yes, we think we can reach a compromise, or yes, we give in. Anywhere on that spectrum of actions.
And I think, as far as I'm concerned, I think if we reach a point where we're negotiating with them and they somehow find a way to get at least these two to go forward, if we have to do an amendment, we have to do an amendment to get that. Again, I've stated many times, I don't believe we have to do an amendment. The problem is, I'm not the Met Council.
And so we just have
And
to
they
figure
have
out
a
how
big
we're to,
hammer.
yeah, and we just have to figure out how to strike a balance.
I haven't accepted their hammer yet. I guess that's the issue.
Well,
I'd tell them to go suck an egg myself, but
it's just a matter of what risk you want to run, and if you think if you have enough confidence to say that that judge is going to rule in our favor.
Well, and if we can find a way that we can get what we're looking
Exactly.
for and make Met Council happy, that would be the ideal.
A win, mostly win.
Yes.
Yep.
As much of a win-win as possible, or maybe a win.
It might be a way just to move forward.
Yeah. So
Okay.
for now we're tabling this, but we
based
have
on
our,
that, yeah, I'll make a motion that we table this.
So, second.
Okay. All those in favor?
I guess.
All those opposed, say no.
Good luck getting this done in the next 6 months.
Motion is approved to table
Don't
it.
jinx us like that. We're gonna get it done.
And as far as those thoughts go, if let Zach know kind of where do you want to go with this? Because she's going to be the one kind of spearheading the negotiations. So.
Okay.
And you're also welcome to communicate it to me.
Okay.
Yes.
So I can.
Might as well copy both.
Yeah, so that I understand fully what the council is looking for.
Okay, on to item N.
Okay. Easier one, hopefully. So this is approval for conveyance and removal of a home at 15520 Lawndale Lane. Three Rivers Park District has purchased this property and has offered the house to be purchased by the city of Dayton for $100,000. Under the condition the city move the home by October 1st. So the thought is we would purchase the house and either move it to another location or find another buyer.
October 1st?
October 1st.
So
Is that practical?
my concern is if it can't end up where we think it's going to end up or where we want it to end up, do we have a staging area where we can plop a house?
We'll have to figure that out.
I've got room, but not that much room.
Again, send the horse down there before you bring the cart.
Oh,
Don't we
this,
have
so
vacant land?
the thinking is it would be, what was that? Go ahead.
Don't we have vacant land?
The thinking is it would go to one of the current lots that we own, right? And we don't see any
That's one of, there's
regulatory
several
problems,
thoughts.
setback problems, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
I'm going to say there are several thoughts, and we don't have a key direction yet. So I want to explore all those different options before settling something or publicizing it.
Yeah, and I just know there were some questions about some of those, and I don't remember all the questions, but as long as we end up, and this would come out of what fund?
That I don't know, so that'd be a
Okay.
question for Zach.
So I think we should just table this whole thing until we get some answers.
Well, they want an agreement. When do they want an agreement? The Three Rivers?
As soon as possible.
Well, that's special.
It was September, I believe.
Kelly, can
Yeah.
you come up?
Kelly, might as well
Yeah,
come
come on
up.
up.
Sorry. Mayor, fellow council members, is it close enough?
You're good.
Okay. The agreement is written that there is an opportunity for the council to request an extension from that October 1st date. We would just want to know by, I can't recall if it was September 1st or September 15th, but a point
September
in,
15th.
thank you, a point in September. And
That's to agree to buy it, right?
if you would, no, if you
Or
would
to move
like
it.
to
Extend it.
extend the October 1st deadline, and mostly that's because we want to be good neighbors to the adjacent properties and get that property cleaned up and everything back to just natural open space, as well as
Does that include the pool?
that does include the pool. As well as we have grant money and that has an expiration date. And so if the city of Dayton does not fulfill its obligations or decides that it doesn't want to partner in the transaction, then we also have a certain date in which to use those grant funds to do the demolition and return everything back to natural rural space. So we're kind of trying to look at our deadline. We have to spend all that money by November 1st, and if you don't fulfill your terms by October 1st, then we have a very short window to kind of come in there and get it cleaned up. But if by mid-September, if you guys can tell us in real good faith, like, yeah, we have a plan or we will have a plan, just give us an extra 6 months, I think we're in a good position. But it's absolutely up to the
But that-
council if you want to move forward. We have some other options that we can look at.
This is an agreement to move the house or to purchase the house?
The city would be responsible to, you'd be purchasing the house, and then you would also be responsible to move
To
it,
move it, but-
and then to demo the basement.
Yeah, but when is the purchase needed? Purchase decision needed by? That's what I
We
wasn't
would,
following.
well, so we would like to do that as soon as possible, again, because we have that grant deadline. And if the council doesn't want to buy the house, then we go through an open bid process, and that takes us time. And again, we have to have all of our funds spent by November 15th. That's why we're trying to get on the same page this evening.
And how did we come to 100 grand?
Mayor, fellow council members, the house appraised at 400,000, and so we are offering it to the city as a first right of refusal, I guess, at a significant deduction.
And I know the moving cost, do you remember what those came out at? 40.
It was I mean, it depends on where it gets moved to, but it was significant.
It's just, okay. Has EDA even talked about this? Or?
No.
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 When I talked to Zach about it, my point was always the city has to come out ahead on this, and he felt like he had options where the city came out ahead, and so I'm assuming if it's gotten to this point, I know Zach's, I can't speak for Zach, but like I can't imagine that
Yep.
there aren't plans in place and that this isn't ultimately going to be fine for us. And my understanding was there were options, so I think if we get stuck in a worst case scenario, we do actually have a lot we can put it on. It might not be the best one, but it would work, and we wouldn't be stuck in a position where we have to pay and demo the house ourselves. I don't see that happening.
Right, so Zach has kind of done some preliminary numbers, and just as you said, he's confident that we're not going to lose money on this.
Yeah.
Speak.
I'm gonna just say it. I don't think that this is a role that the city should be taking. I don't think we should be in the business of real estate in this capacity. And so for me, while it's really, really great that the Rivers Park wants to negotiate with us and give us a very nice offer as far as the house appraised for, I just don't think that this is the role that the city should be taking. And so for me, I don't have an appetite to purchase the home.
I don't disagree with that. It does let us move some of the other lots that we have, or help move it, but I don't disagree with that. I don't even like the city owning some of these lots.
No, it feels
Just
sticky.
sitting on
Yeah,
it.
it feels sticky to me,
But-
and I don't like that feeling, and I don't like to play in that area. So appreciate it, but
Yeah, the
And I
discussion.
don't disagree with you. It feels more to me like an EDA
yeah.
function. And that's where, we're at the front end of this thing. I mean, we're making a purchase decision potentially, but we don't have the rest of the plan. There's really a part to this, right? Who's doing the next steps? Where is it going to be put? We've got, it sounds like a couple of options floating out there. My worry with it is that there is a hard deadline on this. I mean, I know there's language in there that says that we can request an extension, but then right after that, it says if it's not moved by then, we're out the $100,000 and you take the house back because it's abandoned. And so it's a little bit fuzzy to me in that we can request an extension. It doesn't guarantee it. And then there's sort of this significant penalty that we don't get it done and we've spent the money and we don't have anything. The hope would be that this can all happen. I think it would be a shame for this house to be torn down. And we've got places in the city that it could fit. So I'm in favor of us doing this. How we do it, we've got to get going on pretty quickly to make any of this come together.
Well, if we don't do it, it's still going up for auction, right?
Yep.
We would
Somebody will
still
buy it.
offer it for a public bid, and typically house moving companies then put in an offer, and it goes to the highest bidder, and it most likely wouldn't stay within the city of Dayton, but I can't say that with absolute certainty. We've put several of this is a new tool,
Pretty new.
I think, in our toolbox, in Three Rivers toolbox. They used to do it quite often in the 60s and the 70s, but it's complicated and it costs a lot of money to do it, as you noted. But in this case, the way the public bidding laws work, and that there's house moving companies now, they take on that risk or that liability. So we can put it up for public auction, and then they buy it, and then they move it, and they'll either move it to their warehouse, they'll have properties that you can then go and buy it right from their property, or they'll have another lot that they move it directly to. So that's an option, and if that doesn't pan out, the other options that we would be exploring is working with the fire department as a practice burn or doing a standard demo. And
This is brand new.
I know, no one
And
is
it's
interested
gorgeous.
in going down those roads, but there are certainly options. And we've, on the Steinke property that the council approved several months ago, that when we did a public bid and that house is going to get moved, that one's a lot more complicated because it's, I forget what it's called, but when there are different split levels, thank you. And then the most recently council-approved property will be looking at moving as well to try to keep the houses just in the inventory.
So it's likely to be bought, it's just a matter of
Who buys it? Yep. And ultimately, whether the city buys it or not makes no difference to Three Rivers. We're just, the staff had indicated an interest, and so we're here to present that opportunity to the city.
To me, it's way too early to make that decision. I mean, we don't know none of the details. And I don't see the big rush.
Well, that's
I don't,
what it's kind
I
of-
personally, if there's an interest, we can look at it on the auction. If there's an interest, but I want to know the details. I want to know how much it's going to cost to move it, how much, what are all the details? Where's it going to go?
So I thought we did have those details, did,
Wasn't a weekly update that you received from
Yeah.
Zach?
Yeah, those were ballpark numbers, yeah.
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 You know,
But it didn't say where it was going to go for sure.
and you don't have a need by when we need to make this decision, you're just saying ASAP.
Yeah.
Does 2 weeks matter?
Really sooner,
Kind of,
yeah. What does that put us at, 2 weeks?
July 25th, I think, no?
July 22nd.
22nd.
That would be- Our board meets once a month, and does anyone have a calendar in front of them?
Yeah.
Or right here.
So this is
Our board would meet July 17th, and they would typically want the council to meet it to authorize it first. We could move forward and approve it on our end with the terms as currently outlined, or if you had suggestions, I could bring those suggestions back.
What questions does the council have that would bring you from I'll say, tabling it to a yes?
Or no.
Or no?
Yeah, for me, there's some blanks to fill in. I don't think we've landed on, well, who's going to do this work, whether it's the council, the EDA, or just, well, the staff through the council's authority, I guess. But where it's going, it sounded like there's a couple of options. And my concern ultimately isn't that we find a place. I think there's some options there. It's a tight timeline
Yeah.
to get this thing uprooted and moved somewhere by October 1st. And we do shoulder some risk in this because of the way that it's written, that if we're not there, I think ideally we'd want to have it done by then because winter's coming. But can we identify a location, get a foundation built, and all that to get this house moved by
I just don't
October
see how
1st?
that happens
That
by October.
that
Not a
seems.
chance.
But I don't see how anybody does it. You gotta put a basement under it. You gotta put
Right.
permits, blah, 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 blah.
If it's getting moved, it's got to go somewhere,
Somewhere.
and I don't know, landowners or house movers, maybe they've
Well,
got
they can sit on
yards
it.
somewhere, they
They
can
do.
pull it and park it somewhere.
And maybe we do too, I don't know, but there's the equipment there too. So it almost seems like we need more information.
I mean, in general, either we're going to move it to a city-owned lot or we're moving it to someone else's property and they're buying it.
Or set it on Sarah's field.
it's currently underwater. I have a lake, not a field.
Well, I mean, if all else, it can sit somewhere. I mean, that's what a mover's
get
gonna
filled
do
with
too.
mice.
But it just seems like we have some details that we don't
Yeah.
have. worked
Um,
And a part of me also agrees with Stephanie. I'm a little bit leery of us
Well, we can talk about it
doing
and,
real estate stuff.
and get a general consensus and then let Kelly know our thoughts. I mean, I'd like to hear more details on where it's gonna go. Where are we gonna put it?
Okay, so do we just want to table this
That's what I'd
until
say.
the next meeting?
Well, she wants an answer by the 17th. Or she'd like an answer. She'd
No,
like an
that's
answer.
when, go ahead.
That's when our council meets.
Right.
So I think what I could commit to is we won't take action to start our general bid process between now and the 22nd. But we would want to know on the 22nd whether we're going to be entering into an agreement.
How about the 23rd? Because on the 22nd, we won't get done with it until 9 or 10 at night.
There's also an option of a special meeting.
Yeah.
There is.
So the 23rd, if I get an email from staff that says
Yes or no?
yes or no.
Yeah.
And again, we're just here offering, it doesn't matter to Three Rivers. And if there's language that you would like to see changed in the agreement, you can certainly propose that through Zach or John, and I can route that through our general counsel as well.
All right,
I'm good with that.
so are we tabling this then?
I'll make a motion to table it until the next meeting, till the 22nd.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
All right, so the tabling,
So for my benefit, what questions would you like answers to?
We're gonna wait.
But like,
What-
what information do you need so
Where's
we
it
can
going?
make a decision?
Where's it going?
when do we collect these and just mail them in?
That's fine. I mean, he doesn't need to know tonight either.
We'll just collect them and let you guys know.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling Zach has 90% of whatever questions come up already answered.
And whatever or not, like, we need to get answers to, so if
He
you
had a
could
plan,
respond on Monday, or by Monday, preferably. Does that work?
Does that work?
By Monday?
Send in our questions by Monday, so, because Zach will be here on Monday and then he can answer them.
Thank you.
What?
I just think it's, well, no, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Can this,
Hurry up when we want to
well,
hurry
I
up.
guess we gotta pick a direction.
Slow
There's an
down when we
EDA
wanna slow
meeting
down.
next week. Is that
There's
correct?
that. What was that?
I was just saying that there's an EDA meeting next week.
Oh,
And are we feeling like if we do this, that would be appropriate for the EDA to manage that real estate transaction?
it would certainly be, I think, more
Process.
appropriate for them than us. They are the EDA slash
HR.
acronym, yes, HRA.
HRA.
Although, yeah,
Which we don't
However-
really do much with, but
depending on what happens with, the triangle money, that just really means we're probably moving other money around, so it's, but still managing that, it does seem like it falls under them better, but I don't know.
Or what is the reason that ED hasn't been brought into it yet? I mean,
Time.
we're supposed to vote on something and nobody's told EDA about it.
right.
I mean,
So that is, yeah, this is moving fast, and with these timelines, it has to, and I guess that's my point is, are we comfortable with the EDA looking at that? And if so, can that be on the next agenda?
It can if the council would like to give direction. I mean, this was presented to the council as this is coming from your budget. If you would like to forward it to the EDA, then it becomes their budget.
I'm not too hung up on the budget, only because we know there's a
gap.
there's a purchase coming or a possible purchase coming that's gonna throw a monkey wrench in that anyways. It's just who should be dealing with this thing. I think, managing it, making decisions about it, I don't know.
Do
Or
they
at
have the
least,
capacity
That'll
to
be
work on
another
this?
question, is why hasn't it been turned over to the EDA?
it does seem like it should have been.
And so the EDA meets once a month, council meets twice a month. When I put the EDA packet together, it's typically the week before the meeting, so it would be right now. There's a whole 3 weeks where I'm working on planning commission items or council items.
But we have known about this for a while. I think that's what
Yeah,
you're getting
yeah,
at.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've known about it for a
We've
couple
known about
months.
this for quite a while.
So
We didn't know what was gonna happen, right, instantly like this.
So would you like the EDA to provide direction on this?
I'm not overly excited about the whole purchase thing anyway, so I don't know that it matters a whole lot.
Do you have any thoughts?
Well, my feeling is that this is the EDA kind of business, and that's
Kinda
where
is.
we should be,
Yeah.
where it should happen.
I would agree.
I know we're not all on the same page about whether or not to do it at all, but if we were to do it, I think that's where it belongs.
At least they can give recommendations to us, and it just seems like it's in their back, it's in their,
It also gives another
Scope.
opportunity before we meet again for them to have some discussion about the mechanics of how this could actually come together.
when is their next meeting?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
A week from today.
Oh,
So my interpretation, the council has already taken action to table this till the July 22nd meeting. You're looking for a recommendation from the EDA. So EDA is not going to act on it and buy the house next week. They're going to give a recommendation, and the council may or may not take action on July 22nd.
And regardless, we'll communicate on the 23rd.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one way or the other, on the 23rd, you'll have,
Yeah, I think that,
does that seem reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
we good?
Yep.
Right. If there are no objections, we'll be adjourned. We're adjourned.